All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
So today we're going to be diving into Syrian integration in Sweden.
Yeah.
5 years after that really big wave of refugees back in 2015.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at this really interesting article from Euractiv.
Okay.
It kind of gives a good overview of the successes, the challenges, some setbacks, and some really compelling stories too.
I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, me too.
5 years is a good chunk of time to start looking at what the long-term trends are.
Definitely.
And how those early integration efforts are actually like playing out.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big deal, right? I mean, 2015 alone, Sweden had like a record 163,000 asylum seekers.
Wow.
A third of those were Syrian.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
And I imagine that put a strain on Sweden's like famously open immigration policy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a huge influx for any country to absorb.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because the article talks about this former case handler at the Swedish migration agency.
Right.
And they were just describing lines, never-ending lines, people begging for help.
Oh man.
You know, like just chaos.
Yeah, I bet.
So you can really feel the intensity of that moment.
You really get a sense of the human cost of these global events when you hear a story like that.
Absolutely.
It's not just numbers, it's people fleeing conflict and looking for safety.
Yeah.
And a new life.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So let's jump ahead 5 years.
Yeah, fast forward.
How are things looking?
Yeah, so the article seems to say it's still kind of early to tell, you know, definitively how well things are going.
Right.
But there are some good signs.
Yeah, like what? What's looking good?
Well, the employment rate seems to be pretty promising.
Okay, yeah, that's huge.
Back in 2010, 70% of Syrians with residency permits had jobs after just 6 years.
Okay.
So the experts seem to think that we could see something similar for the 2015 arrivals.
I mean, that's really encouraging.
It is.
What's the thinking there?
Well, the article mentioned that Syrians tend to have similar education levels to native Swedes, so maybe that's part of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I imagine it goes beyond just like their formal education, right?
Oh, yeah.
I bet a lot of them have valuable skills and experience from their lives before.
Yeah.
I mean, we see this with refugees all the time.
Yeah.
People starting businesses, you know.
Right.
Professionals finding work in their fields. Young people who are like ready to learn and eager to contribute.
Absolutely.
So it's not always about replicating what they did before.
Right.
But taking those skills, the experiences, and using them.
Finding a way.
In Sweden, right?
In this new,
And that's where those support programs can really come in.
Yeah.
You know, language training, job placement, skills assessments, those sorts of things.
Absolutely, yeah.
That can make a huge difference.
Help them get into the Swedish job market.
Exactly.
But we should probably talk about like the policy changes that happened after 2015.
Yeah, because there were some pretty big ones, right?
Yeah, I mean the 2015 influx kind of shifted things. 2016, the government made this temporary law.
Right.
And it made it way harder.
Oh wow.
To get permanent residency.
Okay.
And family reunification.
So that's pretty different from their usual approach.
Yeah, it was a pretty big change.
Yeah.
And you know, it kind of shows how some Swedes were feeling at the time.
Right, a little anxious about all the rapid change and the pressure on, you know, social services and resources.
Yeah.
So it's like they were trying to get a handle on things, you know.
Right.
Make it more sustainable.
Yeah.
More controlled.
And of course, it's caused a ton of debate, right?
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Like, should it be permanent? And the article even mentions the Sweden Democrats.
Oh, right.
They've gotten bigger, more powerful.
The anti-immigration party.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's got to be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a huge political issue now.
Yeah.
And you've got all these different parties and perspectives kind of battling it out.
Right.
Sweden Democrats, they're tapping into that anxiety, you know.
Right.
Saying immigration is a threat to their culture and identity.
Right.
A powerful message.
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting, though, because the article's saying this shift in public opinion, it wasn't all because of 2015.
Right.
It's like there was already kind of this unease about immigration.
Simmering there under the surface.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then 2.15 just like made it all
blew it up.
Explode. Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you really want to understand what's going on with integration.
Right.
you gotta look beyond just the numbers.
Absolutely.
Think about national identity and,
right.
fears about the economy and how different cultures fit together.
Yeah.
It's complex.
It is.
So we've got all this going on, but what's it actually like?
Yeah.
For Syrian refugees who are trying to make a life in Sweden.
Yeah, what's their experience?
Because the article has some really, really powerful personal stories.
Yeah.
And I think those give us a much better sense
Absolutely.
of what it's actually like to go through this.
Right, like the actual lived experience.
Exactly.
Right.
The triumphs, the struggles, the hopes, the frustrations.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah, like for example, Abdallah Saleh, this 24-year-old Palestinian refugee. He fled Damascus in 2014, got to Sweden a year later.
Right.
Found work, learned Swedish and English.
Wow.
And he just got into a computer science program.
That's amazing.
It's incredible, right?
It really is.
Like, talk about resilience.
Yeah, he faced some huge challenges.
Yeah.
But he found opportunities and built a new future for himself.
Absolutely.
It's inspiring.
It really is.
But then we've got Hala Almahas,
right?
A Syrian dentist.
Yeah.
And she's dealing with a whole other set of problems.
Yeah, totally different.
She's practicing in this small town where they actually need dentists.
Right.
But she's stuck in this bureaucratic nightmare.
Yeah.
Can't get permanent residency.
It's like
because of one missing dot.
A piece of paper.
It's crazy.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have the skills, they need you.
Exactly.
But you can't.
But the paperwork's holding you back.
Yeah. It's pretty frustrating.
It really highlights, I think, the need for these processes to be more streamlined, more humane. Yeah. Especially when you're talking about refugees who are like, already going through so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's Ali Haj Mohammed.
Right.
His story kind of shows another side.
Right. Another side.
Of this whole integration thing.
Yeah.
So he's unemployed. He feels really isolated.
Yeah.
He's having trouble learning Swedish.
Yeah.
Because most of his friends are Syrian or Iraqi. It's like he's trapped in this cycle of social exclusion.
Right.
And it's really tough to see.
Yeah.
It really shows how important social integration is.
Right.
Learning the language, finding a job, connecting with the community.
Yeah.
Those are all crucial if you want to feel like you belong and participate fully in society.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about individual effort.
Right.
There's a systemic element here too.
Yeah.
The article actually quotes the head of Sweden's Syrian Association.
Okay.
And he's saying flat out that integration has failed.
Wow.
Because of things like the housing shortage.
Right.
And the lack of real interaction between Syrians and Swedes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty strong statement.
It is.
But it reflects some real challenges.
Right.
I mean, when you concentrate refugees in disadvantaged neighborhoods, it can lead to social isolation, parallel economies, sometimes even gang violence. It becomes this self-perpetuating cycle that's super hard to break.
It's hard to get out of.
Exactly.
And then if you don't have those high demand skills, or you haven't totally learned the language yet, getting into that Swedish labor market is going to be rough.
It's a recipe for frustration. Yeah. Disillusionment.
Right.
So it really highlights the need for ongoing support. So language training, job placement programs.
Right.
Giving people the tools they need.
Absolutely.
To succeed
in
their new home.
For sure.
It's like it really falls on the government then and all of Swedish society, right?
Right. Like
integration can't just be about the refugees.
Right.
It's got to be about creating that space, that environment where those efforts can actually work.
Okay, so more affordable housing.
Right.
And spread things out.
Exactly, so they're not all concentrated.
Right.
Maybe even some programs, to get Swedes and newcomers interacting more.
Right, like a language exchange.
Yeah, language exchange, community events.
Yeah.
Things like that. Just break down the barriers.
Yeah.
And help people feel like they're part of a shared community.
Yeah.
It's got to be a two-way street,
Absolutely.
It takes effort on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
And the article does end on a more hopeful note.
Oh, good.
It talks about Majida Ibrahim and her family.
Okay.
They got to Sweden in 2013.
Okay.
And it sounds like they went through years of just instability.
Oh, wow.
Bouncing between hotels and social services.
Yeah.
Even some kind of shady sublets.
Oh, man.
But finally, they got stable housing.
That's great.
Became Swedish citizens.
Wow.
And her daughter, Elia, speaks perfect Swedish.
That's amazing.
It just shows you that even with all the challenges, integration can work.
Yeah.
And it's not just, a feel-good story.
Right.
I mean, it's good for Swedish society, too.
Absolutely.
Maja and her family, they're contributing. They're adding to the community.
Yeah.
Their skills, their talents. It all enriches the fabric of Sweden,
It's like, it's not just about fitting into a mold, right? It's about like building something new.
Exactly.
It's reverse.
And it really challenges that narrative.
Yeah.
That some of those anti-immigration groups push, right?
Right.
That integration's impossible.
Right.
Or that refugees can't, share Swedish values or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked about a lot.
We've covered a lot of ground.
The initial influx.
Yeah.
The policy changes, the debates, the personal stories. What's the takeaway?
Yeah, what does it all mean?
Like, where's Syrian integration in Sweden?
5 years later.
5 years on, yeah. I think it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
Right.
You've got good things, bad things.
Right.
Times when people come together.
Yeah.
Times when they're divided.
Yeah.
But what really stands out to me is just how resilient people are.
Right.
I mean, they're facing these huge obstacles.
Yeah.
But they're rebuilding their lives. They're finding ways to contribute.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think it reminds us that behind all the statistics, all the policy debates, there are real people with hopes and fears and dreams, right?
Absolutely.
And ultimately, integration has to start with that shared humanity.
Right.
Creating a society where everyone can thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing, integration's not like a finish line.
Right.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
You're always adapting.
Right.
Evolving, learning from past mistakes, finding new ways to connect, to build bridges between people.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
So no easy answers.
No magic formula.
Yeah.
Takes a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Smart policies, enough resources.
Yeah.
A real commitment to inclusion from everyone, from the government, from society as a whole.
Right.
So where does Sweden go from here?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Is how do they balance the worries about immigration's impact with their commitment to helping people,
to offering refuge
who need it.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
I don't think there's one answer.
Right.
It's going to take a nuanced approach.
Right.
You got to think about the economics, the social side, the politics, but also uphold those human rights.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a balance.
Yeah. It sounds like it's not just about tweaking policies. Right. It's like a whole shift in how we think about things.
Exactly.
Like, what if instead of focusing on the challenges, we thought about the contributions.
Right.
The good things that newcomers bring.
What they add.
Yeah.
The diversity.
Yeah.
How they make society richer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
What if integration wasn't a problem?
Right.
But an opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about Abdallah.
Right.
The computer science student.
Yeah.
That's what's possible. When you make integration work.
It's like when it's done right.
Yeah.
Everyone wins.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
You're building a future where difference is a strength.
Right.
Different cultures, different perspectives.
Yeah.
Everyone has a chance to reach their potential.
Absolutely. Yeah, it feels like a turning point,
It does.
Not just for Sweden, but for other countries too, trying to figure this all out.
This whole integration thing, it's a global issue, really.
Absolutely. So how do we get there?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
I think looking at what Sweden's doing gives us some good ideas.
Yeah.
One thing that's clear is that integration, it's complicated.
It's not simple.
It's not a quick fix. It's a long game.
Right.
It takes real effort.
Yeah.
Smart policies.
Yeah.
And a willingness to really listen to different perspectives.
And you can't just
Right.
lump all refugees together.
No, everyone's different.
Yeah.
They've got their own skills, their own stories, their own challenges.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the same time, we got to think about the bigger picture.
The system.
The systems, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do people have access to affordable housing?
Right.
Can they get a good education?
Yeah.
Can they learn the language?
Right.
Those things are crucial.
Absolutely.
And it's up to the government and society to make sure those things are in place.
Yeah, it sounds like a real balancing act.
It is.
Right.
Trying to meet everyone's needs.
Yeah.
The people who are already there.
Right.
And the people who are coming in. And we got to be honest about the tough parts too. Like, yeah, there can be strain on social services. Immigration can impact the job market.
Right.
But we also got to remember what newcomers bring to the table.
Yeah.
The ways they make our communities better.
Right.
Like, think about Majda. Majda and her family.
Exactly. They went through so much.
Yeah.
But they kept going.
Yeah.
And now they're part of Swedish society.
Contributing.
Yeah. And their story's not unique.
Right.
There are so many others, refugees who are starting businesses, becoming doctors, teachers, getting involved in their communities.
Yeah.
Those are the stories we need to hear more of.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how do we change the story?
It's a good question.
How do we get past the fear?
It starts with seeing each other
Yeah.
as human beings.
Right.
These are families just like ours.
Yeah.
They just want a safe place to live.
Right.
A chance at a better future.
Yeah. And a lot of the problems they face aren't because of it, right?
It's the systems.
The systems we've built.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got to ask ourselves, how can we make those systems better?
More fair.
More fair, more just...
How do we create a world where everyone has a chance to succeed, no matter where they come from?
Yeah, it's like we've gone way beyond just
I know, right?
Sweden now.
It's a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, like what does it mean to belong?
What does a truly inclusive society look like?
Yeah.
That's what we need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Huge thank you to our expert.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
For all your insights.
Happy to be here.
And to you, the listener.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
For joining us on this journey.
Keep diving deep.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.